Yo, what's up guys? This is Rise and welcome to another video where today we're going to be going through one of the APAC regional playoff tournaments and Metranjar's run to try and qualify for the Pokemon World Championships in Anaheim, California coming in August. Now, some of you may follow along with the North American regional circuit. You may see players like myself competing there sometimes on the broadcast, but not all these tournaments across the world have broadcasts, and some of them are in a different format. So for me in North America, I try to garner championship points by placing highly in tournaments, and the top 75 players from North America get invited to the World Championships. Unless you are able to win a tournament, you get an auto qualification. It's a different format for other regions, and for Asia and some of these players, they have to go through what I would consider a more difficult process because there's less chances where you have to qualify or place in the top in a qualifying tournament to give yourself a chance in then a playoff tournament and then get top 2 in this one in particular to get that World Championship spot. Now, most of these players are going to be from Hong Kong, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Metranjar, a player from Hong Kong, we're going to be going through his run in his quest to try and qualify for the World Championships. Without further ado, let's get into the battles. And also shout out to Dracoviz for the background and sort of layout that I'll be using in this video. But here we go. Metranjar, we're going to start things off in this bracket, in this top 16 format. And I will say, just to start things off, it is a best of 3 every single round, and it is a double elimination format. So if you lose, you then fall to the loser side of the bracket, where you cannot lose again, otherwise you'll be eliminated. Best of 3 all the way through, and Metranjar starting this 16-person playoff. So all these players have already qualified for this playoff, starting this playoff against Franz with a Z. And here we go. Let's just break down Metranjar's team before we start this video. Talonflame, Tinkaton, Superior, Shadow Steelix, a very unique pick, Jellicent, Shadow Quagsire, Franz with the Z running Lapras, Tinkaton, Shadow Sableye, Shadow Jumpluff, Claydol, and Furret. Game number 1. Let's get going. We lead Tinkaton into the Shadow Sableye. That is a good lead to start things off for for Metranjar. And Tinkaton opting for that Bulldoze here. The play rough is very threatening. Oh, and it's actually caught onto a Jumpluff. What a catch from Franz. However, now you put your Jumpluff in a vulnerable position against the Talonflame, not where it wants to be. Talonflame looking very cool with its shiny glory. Going for the fly here. Running that double flying moveset is Metranjar. I think that's kind of the standard these days, but I am seeing some people pick up Flame Charge again for that ability to ramp up your attack. We're going to see Sableye land the foul play, getting rid of Talonflame. And I have to imagine you coming back in with the Tinkaton here, resisting all the charge attacks from Sableye. Fairy Winds are chunking as well. And another Bulldoze is caught onto Claydol, but these catches are not going to be enough, I don't think, because Superior just going to have a great time against this Claydol, resisting those Mud Slaps. And because the Mud Slaps aren't very threatening, an Ice Beam is definitely not going to threaten to knock out the Superior. So the only hope for Franz here is if maybe you can delay that switch timer and sort of combo play with the Sableye. Maybe that could open up something. But right now, this looks to be a really commanding position for Metranjar. Frenzy Plant grabs the final Protect Shield. Claydol's going to fire off an attack, and the final shield not going to come up. Going to put Superior really low in a combo play onto this Superior. Sableye gets the final shield. Are we going to see an undercharge here maybe to get a farm down? No, we're just going to fully commit to it. Going to swap, and understands that this Claydol is within play rough range, and Claydol was dry as well. So no need to get fancy there and go for an undercharge. Just get rid of it, and Tinkaton is going to take out Claydol in the back. A matchup normally it doesn't want to see. 1-0 for Metranjar, gets a great lead into Jumpluff, and the Furret safe swap is going to be met by Superior. Now, I would think Furret could probably flip this if it's willing to invest in extra Protect Shield, but the Frenzy Plant, of course, going to be really threatening here. Just such a powerful, such a strong, efficient attack, and is going to grab that Protect Shield. Furret fighting back a little bit here. Superior might be able to hang on to the Swift, but doesn't want to give Franz a chance to just farm down after that. So going to put up the Protect Shield. It looks like Furret might be able to win the 2-shield scenario here, but not gonna... Oh, actually going to reach a Swift, and it's caught onto Tinkaton. And I guess you understand that the Jumpluff has nowhere to go at this point. So willing to give up Switch. Now, Tinkaton might be putting yourself in a vulnerable position here, because if this Claydol farms you all the way down, all of a sudden... Oh, okay, they actually throw energy. I think that's beneficial. I think that's beneficial for Metranjar, because if they had committed the full farm down, I don't think Talonflame has a move. Gonna come in with Superior, forcing Claydol to expend energy. I love this play. Talonflame cannot eat a Rock Tomb, that is for sure. And now you're just gonna be really patient here. I like that we're... Oh, okay. We're not even throwing. Sorry, we're not going for the farm down. They make a beautiful catch onto Furret, but I don't think Claydol is going to be able to reach 2 Rock Tombs here. I could be wrong, but I don't think it has quite enough energy. Going to go for the first Rock Tomb. Does live and Incinerate because of that, but no, it was at least 2 away. And now we have all this energy from Jumpluff. This is bold, though. We're going straight for the Brave Bird. I think they're going to let this go. Bang! Big Brave Bird connects. And that was actually a massive decision, believe it or not. That was a massive decision. Because had Metranjar not gone for that big Brave Bird and gone for the Fly, you probably withstand it easier as Jumpluff and then can reach an Acrobatics with that shield you still had remaining to KO the Talonflame. So going directly for that Brave Bird was a massive decision there, and that's going to be a 2-0 for Metranjar as we go to the next round here against Lalem. And apologies if I'm mispronouncing any of these opponents' names, but here we go. We see just how different some of these teams are. Almost a completely different team. I think it is a completely different team. 6 new Pokemon. Shadow Sandslash, Blastoise, a cool pick. Mandibuzz, Annihilate, the Credilli, and the Clodsire. Now, Credilli, I think, has a lot of play here. Let's see. Clodsire, kind of hit or miss, in my opinion. Blastoise, how does the Blastoise look? Has some solid coverage against Metranjar's team, so I maybe just on the surface level, without digging too much, I would give this matchup advantage to Metranjar, and the Annihilate is something you always have to keep an eye on. You don't want that Annihilate to start ramping up on you. But here we go. Caught a great lead, and then the Safe Swap Credilli is met by Tinkaton. This is pretty solid for Tinkaton. I think Credilli can force switch advantage here in the 2-shield scenario, which is pretty crazy if you're not running a Steel move on the Tinkaton. But Tinkaton should be able to win the 0-shield scenario and the 1-shield scenario, because as you see, these Bullet Seeds and Rock Tombs just do not do that much damage to Tinkaton. So we'll be able to withstand 3, but Credilli cannot withstand 3. So that's why we're able to take this matchup here. But will the opponent elect to pivot out, save energy? Let's see. No, they're just going to stay in here, whittle down this Tinkaton. And as long as we keep the Jellicent aligned with the Clodsire, I feel like we're in a good spot. Going for the Bulldoze here. We are triple debuffed, so hopefully this Bulldoze still knocks out from this range. We know it's such a weak move. Yep, does knock out still. I guess this potential Poison Sting down, though, could get awkward. This could become an awkward situation, right? Because these Bulldozers are doing nothing. At least we're getting the debuff. But you also don't really want to give up Switch, especially if they're running that Stone Edge on Clodsire. Here we go. Bulldoze coming through. Another debuff, but lots of energy on Clod. So maybe a free Earthquake and Dip is coming here from Clod. Saving both shields for Talonflame. As long as it's not Blastoise, I feel like has a lot of play here, and it's Mandibuzz. If it was Blastoise, I think we might have been in some serious trouble, but I think Talonflame is going to be slightly favored here just because the Snarls do not do very much. And we're pacing pretty much the same. Pretty similar pacing, except we're dealing a lot more fast attack damage, at least in terms of the Dark Pulse, right? It's kind of similar pacing overall. Going for the Fly here. This will threaten to knock out the Mandibuzz. We still have a lot of health on Jelly. Grabs the final Protect Shield. Have to be a little bit careful here. We want to save this fly for the Mandibuzz. They might try to switch Claude here. And looks like we did 1 and then through. They do catch on Claude. So how's this going to play out? Fly connects. We swap in Jelly. Going to go for the Surf immediately. No messing around. And does the opponent try to put this all on the back of Mandy? No, they actually shield. I think maybe if the opponent had put this all on the back of Mandy, that could have been a play. But now, assuming this is Earthquake, oh, it doesn't knock out. Jelly gets there. So now the only way the opponent wins is if they get to a move here first. But I think we're 1 Incinerate away, and they were completely dry. So we get the Fly off first. I don't know. I think maybe if the opponent had let the Clodsire go, they could have got the win, right? Because maybe they could have built up enough with the Mandibuzz to get off 2 attacks. But that being said, they were really low on Mandibuzz, so it's a tough call to make there in the moment. And maybe I'm incorrect. Maybe the Mandibuzz wouldn't have enough health to withstand those hexes from the Jellicent and Overfarm. Game number 2 here. 1-0 for Metrenjar. Shiny Talonflame. Getting a lot of playing time here with this team. Talonflame can be a difficult Pokemon to use, but it is very strong. That combination of Incinerate and Fly, also with the Brave Bird, of course, so powerful. That 5-turn duration can make it difficult, but when used effectively, it can also be so strong. Talonflame flapping away. Gonna shield these Sludge Bombs. They make a nice catch onto Credilli, but I mean, this is totally fine, right? You can even do 1 more Incinerate here before swapping to bank an attack. Yep, love that play. Gonna actually swap into the Superior. Maybe feels like they're trying to bait out the Tinkaton for the Mandibuzz. Is that possible? If they're running it back, very well could be. So this time going with the Superior here, making a read that it might be the Mandibuzz in the back. Frenzy Plant connects, and Credilli will reach a Parting Rock Tomb here, which is a little bit unfortunate. We're gonna be double debuffed here with Serp. Gets the Vine Whip down, and there it is. There's the Mandibuzz, but we have such a hard check to it with our Tinkaton in back. So we can just fully stay in here. There is no reason, in my opinion, to ever bail out. I mean, Mandibuzz is going to have a tough time snarling down as well. I think Mandibuzz might want to throw at some point. But these double debuffed Frenzy Plants are adding up. Okay, banks a ton of energy, then swaps in here. Gonna have to shield the Talonflame because this is a lot of health for Tinkaton to try and deal with, but has the double Fly, and this is massive because Fly is going to put this Clodsire really low to where it's much more manageable. Just going to throw back-to-back, guarantee you get that final Protect Shield or you knock out the Clodsire. Gets the final Protect Shield. Clodsire not going to reach the move anyway, and this game is over. Mandibuzz has so much energy. Probably was at 100 energy, but all that energy is just going to go to waste against the Tinkaton here. Going to do absolutely nothing. Fairy and Steel resisting both the Aerial Ace and the Dark Pulse from Mandibuzz. And I think the opponent just kind of conceding at this point, understanding there is no longer a win condition. Play rough, knocks out Mandibuzz. And Metrenjar are going to move on to winners round 3. And I believe this takes us to a match against Walker. Walker, a Indonesian battler, I believe. I could be mistaken. I actually have the graphic over here. Let me double check myself. Yeah, I believe an Indonesian player. And these two, we'll just have to wait and see. Walker with some more unique picks. Shadow Primeape, a Pokemon I actually ran this past weekend in Milwaukee. Going with that Azumarill, Corviknight, Clodsire, Shadow Sableye, and Furret. So it has a combination of some very bulky mons like Azumarill and Clodsire, and then some more attack-weighted mons that put on pressure like Shadow Primeape and Shadow Sableye. Let's get into it. Game number 1, Talon into Clodsire here. Clodsire building up, throwing after 3 Incinerates for proper timing here. Clodsire at 8 Poison Stings. Fly connects. And they're going to throw after 2 here. This was open team sheets, by the way, just so you know. So, although I don't have the graphics listed for you guys for the movesets of these Pokemon, these trainers do know the movesets of their opponent's Pokemon. And here we go. Comes in with Quag and is met by the Shadow Primeape safe swap. And honestly, if you look at Metronjar's team, Primeape is a little bit of an issue, right? I mean, Primeape has play against pretty much everything. What's the best answer? Maybe Talonflame, maybe Tinkaton, but Tinkaton's really not even that powerful of an answer for Shadow Primeape. So it has a lot of neutral play, but Primeape has a ton of great play against Metronjar's team. This Pokemon's going to be a little bit of an issue to deal with, a little bit of a nuisance, if you will. Does get the Fairy Wind down, as they elected to take the Bulldoze, however. They didn't want to go down both Protect Shields. Claude comes back in, does get the Farm down. Comes back in with Quag. Could this be an Earthquake, maybe? To put up the Protect Shield? No, gonna call the Sludge Bomb bait. What a call. And this is all up to Quag here, though. Although you made the Sludge Bomb call, you're gonna need 3 Aqua Tails here. 1 to grab the shield, 2 to knock out, and I don't think you're going to have the health. I think the next Shadow Claw is actually going to knock out the Quagsire here. Quag goes for the Aqua Tail, and it is not enough. So Sableye gets the win. Metronjar, the first loss we've seen, down 0-1 in this best of 3 to Walker. And now Primeape in the lead here against Quag. Rage Fist connects, and these Karate Chops going to start to really add up. Going for the Aqua Tail here. Primeape going to slightly outpace in this matchup. Going to put up that Protect Shield. And it looks like if you shield... So going to shield this to get off another Aqua Tail. However, you're going to get chopped down. So I would expect maybe a pivot out by Metronjar here. Are we going to see a pivot out into something? Yep, pivots directly into the Tinkaton. I like this play. But you are met by the Corviknight. And this is looking pretty devastating. This is looking pretty devastating. Unless it's something like, I don't even know, the Clodsire in back. Maybe Jelly can put in a lot of work, but this looks like a tremendously bad situation for Metronjar. Going for the Play Rough here. Just trying to chip away as much as possible against this Corviknight. Corviknight doesn't do very much fast attack damage, so actually elects to throw here. Didn't want to take another Play Rough. This is a little bit helpful for Metronjar. Got to come in with Jelly. Oh, I take it back. This works too. I mean, you force him to throw, and you just have to hope it's something like the Clod or the Azu in back to give yourself a chance. Corviknight going to stay in. It is the Azu. Is this potentially possible? The problem here is that 2 Shadow Balls might not be quite enough. And Azu, you can't afford to use a shield against this Azu because you know that the Primeape has a Rage Fist, or it's at least going to get to one, and that's going to do the most damage. Also, the Corviknight has some energy, so if Corviknight reaches a Sky Attack, that could be problematic. Maximum Overfarm, very nice. Going for the Surf, trying to get as much energy as possible. Surf knocks out Azumarill, still has 1 Protect Shield, 1 off the next Surf, and unfortunately Corviknight does reach the attack and knows that you can't Protect Shield because the Primeape has a move loaded, or at least will get to one. So that is a GG, and Walker is going to send Metronjar down to the loser side of the bracket, where now Metronjar is going to have to try and fight to get their way back to the grand finals. This is a double elimination tournament like we talked about. So this takes us to losers quarterfinals. So what is Metronjar faced with at this point? Metronjar has to win this match, another match, and a third match to then get back to the grand finals to play whoever may be left there in the grand finals. So here we go. Metronjar now against Arb. I'll just say Arb. And look at this. 5 shadows on this team, including a Shadow Kanto Marowak, Shadow Jumpluff, Sandslash, Drapion, and of course, Blastoise, a cool pick. Here we go. Amazing lead. And then Drapion met by Quagsire. We know how safe Drapion is in most of the meta, but a Quagsire, a really solid answer, especially with that Mud Bomb coverage. Gonna go for the Mud Bomb to guarantee the knockout if the Drapion tries to call an Aqua Tail, but Drapion gonna try and make this uncomfortable. And because of the slow Incinerate of Talonflame. I mean, Drapion got a little bit of a head start here. I wonder they can probably force both shields if they want to. The opponent, though, not going to get Switch, and they might just fully sacrifice this Sand Slash. I mean, it's pretty much dead weight against Talonflame anyway, so the opponent might just be hoping that their back Pokemon can potentially sweep. No, it's not going to sweep. The Sableye can't really do much against this Tinkaton, and I personally like this Bulldoze here. I mean, just play it safe, right? Why build up when you know this will do some nice chip damage and just allow the Fairy Wind down? So I think sometimes, like, normally you want to build up to that big move, right, to at least threaten it, but in this situation, no messing around. You're in a comfortable position. Just go straight for the chip move. Power Gem not enough, and Tinkaton is going to send this Sand Slash to the graveyard. Talonflame didn't really have to do much this game other than just position itself against the Sand Slash. 1-0 lead for Metrojar. Game number 2. Shadow Quag into Shadow Shiny Sableye. And you're going to pace the same to this first attack. However, Quagsire will pace first to the second Aqua Tail. Foul Play does grab the Protect Shield. Shadow on Shadow would do some serious damage. Aqua Tail coming through. Does some nice damage to Sableye. Now, does the opponent try to go for a catch here? No, they're just going to allow this Aqua Tail to come through, but will they put up a Protect Shield? They will. And then we see the pivot into Tinkaton. Nice reaction from the opponent. Nice reaction from the opponent to not allow the, to not waste that energy on Tinkaton. And Metrojar was able to lure out the Shadow Blastoise here. Shadow Blastoise, apologies, editor Chris has it listed as a regular Blastoise on the graphic. Might have been his mistake. So 6 Shadows actually on this team. Crazy. Shadow Blastoise, Hydro Cannon, knocks out. Gonna have to come in with Quag, of course. These rollouts would really chunk away at Talonflame. Ooh. Okay. Gonna have to put up the Protect Shield here, but the opponent's gonna be switch locked. They're gonna be switch locked. Probably wants them to come in with Blastoise, so Quag can try to get rid of it. But no, Marowak comes in. And this looks impossible because Marowak can simply shield and then probably reach a Rock Slide here against the Talonflame. I think this is over. One Mud Slap and poor Talonflame could not find a good position this game. Bang. Rock Slide didn't actually one-shot, but one more Mud Slap will do the trick. And that is a GG. This makes it 1-1. In this decisive best of 3, needs to win this game to move on. Decides to bench the Talonflame here in the decisive game 3. Quagsire against Blastoise with Mud Bomb. This looks to be a pretty solid matchup for Quagsire. I mean, that Mud Bomb does some serious chip damage. You don't necessarily need to shield the Hydro Cannon here. You can take one. And gonna actually hard pivot into... Wow, hard pivots into Serperior. I don't know how I feel about that play, because that Serperior, I feel like, could have easily been punished by a Sand Slash, but you're met by Jump Up. This is still pretty bad. This is still pretty bad, but also, this team was so ABA weak to Jump Up. This was a risky line for Metrojar, but will the risky line pay off? Serperior gonna go down to this heavy-hitting Acrobaxia. Have to come in with Tinkaton. Man, this looks really awkward here, because you can't really farm down Jumpluff. I mean, 2 Acrobatics is going to do so much damage. I feel like you have to get rid of it first. So you have to use this, all this energy from this play rough, since, you know, Bulldoze isn't enough. Bulldoze doing virtually nothing to a Jumpluff. They come back in with Blastoise. Going to put up the Protect Shield here. What could be in the back? Throws Bulldoze after 4 here. Nice timing. Is Tinkaton going to grab the Protect Shield? It is. And going to put up the final Protect Shield here with Tinkaton. Maybe it's something like the Sableye again. And it is the Sableye. Here we go. Going to go for a massive Bulldoze bait. Might grab the Protect Shield. Might also get a debuff. Gets the debuff. Goes for the Mud Bomb here. Slightly harder hitting. Oh my gosh, so much damage. Forces Sableye to throw the foul play. Quagsire's going to go down, but you farm down here, and now you just need to get to a Bulldoze before the Blastoise gets to a Hydro Cannon. What a crazy sequence. A crazy line from Metranjar, but that crazy line is going to keep them in this tournament where they move on to the losers semifinals, where they're going to play against Silent. And every single team we're seeing in this APAC playoff with some very different Pokemon. Bastiodon making an appearance. Claydol, Golisopod, and a Guzzlord as well. I think the first Guzzlord we've seen. And there it is. Terrible lead for Guzzlord. Safe swap. Golisopod met by the Shadow Steelix. First time we're seeing the Shadow Steelix, I think, in this video. Aqua Jet does a ton of damage. Is actually running Psychic Fangs and Earthquake on the Shadow Steelix. Very cool. Psychic Fangs gonna connect. I think maybe would have been able to just shield this and actually save that energy. Because I don't know if the Psychic Fangs really did too much for us. Gets off a Parting Psychic Fangs against Claydol, but is down a Protect Shield. Psychic Fangs connects, but even though we're down a Protect Shield, we have such favorable alignment. I think we're in a pretty good position. If I was the opponent, you can't afford to swap Guzz here. Even if you try to catch, I mean, you're just opening yourself up to such a massive farm from the Tinkaton. So I think the opponent has to commit to staying in here with Claydol. The problem is because of the fast pacing of Jelly, I think you're simply going to get to 3 Surfs before they ever get to 3 Rock Tombs, even though they had a head start. So maybe at this point, you have to try and go for a catch here on the next Surf. And nice patience. It looks like Metranjar even waited for it, but still kind of just reacted by throwing that Surf. But should be fine. I mean, you are just so hard-walled here. Gonna go for a Bulldoze, knowing you want to come out with energy for the Claydol. And as long as you come out with a Play Rough and Claydol doesn't have an attack loaded, and honestly, even if they do, assuming they're running Icy Wind, Ice Beam, and Rock Tomb, should be totally fine here. Could withstand either one of those moves. Go for the Play Rough immediately just to make sure you don't get debuffed first. I think it's smart. And Play Rough knocks out the Claydol. Very favorable alignment there for Metranjar in game number 1. Just had to keep the switch advantage, and then you're going to be able to win that one. Game 2, bit of a weird lead here because you resist the charge attacks from Golisopod. However, the fast attack Shadow Claws are going to add up over time. So I would personally prefer to be the Golisopod in this situation, but a Shadow Ball is very threatening. Shadow Ball coming through. Will it grab the Protect Shield? Yes, it will. Nice Protect Shield from the opponent. And I like when they're throwing this here right before the next Shadow Ball. Metranjar going to put up a Protect Shield to get off this Shadow Ball. Oh, I think the opponent could have potentially thrown there first. Maybe not. Maybe they were just reaching it, actually. So they are going to go down a Protect Shield, but come out with a ton of energy. You have to come in Tinkaton to absorb this, but they give up Switch, and Azumarill is going to get punished here by this Superior. Can easily tank 1. Now, if Superior can knock out this Azumarill before it gets to another Ice Beam, that will be massive. Because then what you could do is have an attack loaded. Oh, I think Azumarill's going to get there, though. So forced to throw the Aerial Ace here. Now, I would presume Pod comes in to throw an X-Scissor. Pod has so much energy, I think you kind of have to let it go. But no, disagrees. Going to try and catch maybe this next one? No, doesn't catch it. So the only hope is that Tinkaton can sweep this back line here. Nice counting, throwing Play Rough before the next Aqua Jet. Let's see, what's it going to be in the back? Oh, no, it's Claydol. I think this is over. Going to go for a Play Rough, just going to try and fight this out. And this is going to not do quite enough, not as much as you need it to do, especially after a Rock Tomb here, most likely. Gonna do even less, and definitely not going to be enough to knock out. So we have a decisive game 3 coming up against Silent. Metranjar back against the wall. Oh, and they're ABA weak to the Superior. ABA weak to the Superior. Oh my gosh. Personally, I wouldn't have even minded staying in and just winning that matchup, but I think this play makes sense as well because you are ABA strong against the Claydol. You have the Superior and the Jellicent, so you don't even really need Switch. You can just come in here with Tinkaton, and even if Azu somehow flips this matchup, which I don't think it's going to be able to do, should be totally fine. Gonna go for another Play Rough here. Superior also is relatively safe against the team, so as long as there's no Guzzlord to screw up the day, should be in a good position. And once the pod is revealed, just aggressively swaps. I love this play because you're not going to swap Claydol into a Superior, right? So you just aggressively swap Superior, and you know your Jelly is going to be fine against the Claydol later on. Going for the Aerial Ace. Now, this doesn't do as much as a Frenzy Plant would, so yeah, the opponent wisely going to actually let it go. Going to go for another X-Scissor here, and just going to keep investing in Serp. Even if pod gets to another one and it flips this, getting it so low is helpful. And they almost have to shield, right? I mean, Claydol can't clean this up. Makes the beautiful catch onto Jelly, adding insult to injury. Nice catch, and this game is just over. Claydol is not going to be able to take out this Jellicent, and there's still a fairly healthy Superior lurking in the back. That was preserved. Shadow Ball, huge damage. Claydol going to throw a Parting Rock Tomb here, but it's not going to be enough. Jelly very much enjoys this matchup. Going to Hex down in a 3-ball flex for Metrenjar. Surf's up, dude. Going to knock out the Golisopod. And very nicely done. Metrenjar moving on to now the losers finals. We are cruising through this run here. Losers finals against Kai Feng. I'm just going to say Kai here to make it easier. And here we go. Diggersby, Shadow Gator, Credilli, Shadow Drapion, their own Talonflame. But has quite a bit of coverage for Talonflame on this team. Although you are double weak to it with Serp and Tinkaton. How does Diggersby look? Diggersby looks pretty solid. I mean, has a few targets in the Steelix and the Tinkaton. What else? Drapion really only wants to worry about Quag. Tinkaton's obviously not great either. Steelix, I feel like Drapion does kind of fine against with those Aqua Tails. But here we go. Leads Quag into Diggersby. Now, Quag is, you would think, is favored here, and I would say it probably is overall, but Diggersby, as you see, can actually withstand 2 Aqua Tails to get to double Scorching Sand. So Diggersby, I believe, wins the Zero Shield scenario here, especially with that attack drop. Especially with that attack drop. Going for another Aqua Tail here. This is definitely not going to knock out. And, do you just let this go and maybe farm down? No. Wants switch advantage. No switch advantage could matter here. Gonna throw the Aqua Tail on a Fire Punch charge attack priority. And the opponent's just gonna take their shield advantage. They come in with Cradily. Gonna throw a Parting Mud Bomb here. Cradilly's gonna get a nice little farm down, but oh, and then they pivot in. Oh, but a bit of a mistake, perhaps, because now Quag reaches the Aqua Tail. And now they let it go. And this is just going to make life so much easier for Steelix. I think the opponent might regret that play there. I think they would have been better off just farming with the Credilli and keeping that health on their Talon. Because now you go for a simple debuff here. They can no longer clear this debuff on Credilli. And, yeah, just going to stay in, actually get to another Psychic Fangs. And this game is over. Credilli's just not going to have enough firepower to get rid of that Superior. Yeah, Steelix can really do whatever it wants here. Grass Knot knocks out. And these Vine Whips are chunking with those debuffs. Serp will easily withstand a Rock Tomb. Could live 2 if it wants to. And the opponent never going to get a chance to use their Protect Shields in that game. I think definitely should have shielded that Aqua Tail, but obviously it's easier when you're the one watching. And here we go. Same lead in game number 2. Best of 3s. Even here in Losers Finals, it is still best of 3. Grand Finals will also be best of 3. Quagsire lands the Aqua Tail. We're seeing this lead play out pretty much the same. This time, I take it back. Gonna shield the Scorching Sands. No debuff as well. Goes for another Aqua Tail. This will not threaten to knock out, but the opponent might get a little bit scared. Let's see if they shield. No, they let it go. They know they can get to another. And you probably don't want to go down both Protect shields here. So going to let the second Scorching Sands go through. Gets a nice farm down. Very nice mud shot down. That would not have been possible. Would not have been possible without the without the non-debuff. Quag getting to 2 charge attacks for some serious chip damage here against Credilli. Tinkaton comes in. Oh, and it's actually Drapion. I was thinking Talonflame could have a chance, but I think this is just over. Because Steelix should barely live double Aqua Tail. Yeah, I love this play. Just immediate Psychic Fangs, putting the fast attack pressure on. Immediate Psychic Fangs. And look at this. You're not in the yellow yet, so you know you can withstand another Aqua Tail here. You know you're not going to get stung down realistically. And at this point, you can even let this go if you want to. But no, going to actually shield to get off a parting Psychic Fangs. Oh, a nice quick reaction there from the opponent. So this energy will go to waste for Steelix. But I think you just go straight Bulldoze at this point. And as we know, Credilli is going to really struggle to do any meaningful damage here. And Metrenjar is going to move on to the grand finals, where they're going to have a rematch with... Oops. Walker. A rematch with Walker, the trainer that beat them earlier and sent them to the losers bracket. Can they rebound? Can they overcome? Can they get the job done? But what I will say is at this point, I believe both of these trainers have qualified for the World Championship. So congrats to Walker. But of course, they want that elusive title of being the APAC regional champion, or the APAC playoff champion. Here we go. Hong Kong versus Indonesia in the finals. Tough lead here for Metrenjar. And keep in mind, Metrenjar will have to not just win this first best of 3, will have to win a second best of 3, a bracket reset to become the champion, as they are the losers finalist. Walker will just have to win 1 best of 3. Bravebird connects and banks a fly, and actually aggressively swapping the Quagsire. I mean, if you look at Walker's team, doesn't really have a hard punish to Quagsire. Furret, you could say, might be the best punish, but even Furret, right, takes it a little bit to get to that Trailblaze, where Quagsire is going to outpace. Gets off the first Aqua Tail, second Aqua Tail. Furret just going to keep on building. Not really feeling like it has to throw as of yet, and eventually going to throw here. Probably a Swift. Cheaper energy cost unless you want to buff yourself. Yeah, just a Swift. I don't think you can afford to come in with Talon because you might get Sucker Punched down. Comes in Steelix. And what is going to be in the back? Trailblaze with some chip damage. Maybe needs it to be the Corviknight here. And it is the Corviknight. It is the Corviknight. Just going to go straight Psychic Fangs. You want to debuff this as soon as possible. Increase the damage of those Thunder Fangs. And Corviknight might... man, do you swap Azu here? I think you have to, right? You have to swap Azu to clear that debuff. Going for another Psychic Fangs. I don't think Corviknight's going to reach a second charge attack unless they swap out. Shields? Well, yeah, I guess you got to shield something. Okay, Corviknight does get there. But remember, Azu is still hanging around, right? And has a little bit of health. Swaps in Azu. Oh, it has less health than I thought. Going for the Psychic Fangs. Azu is quite low. Going for the Thunder Fang down and gets it. And one more will do the trick against Corviknight. Steelix essentially sweeping the entire team in the back. 1-0 for Metrenjar. Straight into game number 2. Tinkaton into Fur. I think there was a quick lead scenario. No, I guess not. I think this is the lead scenario. It skipped a little ahead. It looked weird. Because we're not switch locked, so I guess it must be the lead scenario. Play Rough connects. And Furret going to Just try to chip away here at the Tinkaton. Another Trailblaze, buffing that attack, buffing those Sucker Punches. Can Furret... Oh, Furret can withstand this Bulldoze and probably reach a Swift here. Wait a sec. What is going on? How is Furret about to flip Tinkaton? We might have missed something. I feel like we must have missed something. But Furret somehow just beat Tinkaton. Quagsire gonna Mudshot down. In comes Primeape. Primeape awfully scary. Awfully scary is the Shadow Primeape. Gonna go for a charge attack here. I have the spreadsheet over here. Let's see. Do we know this Primeape's secondary move? It is running Ice Punch. Okay, it is running Ice Punch, so it doesn't have to worry about the close combat here, if you were wondering. Doesn't have to worry about the close combat. Final Protect Shield coming up. Wants to get off this Aqua Tail to get rid of this Primeape. It's caught onto a Clodsire. I mean, it's... Oh, this is so tricky. Because Steelix is not going to enjoy this matchup. Goes for a Mud Bomb here. And here's the thing. Clodsire can't farm down. It has to throw. And now Steelix is going to look to Thunder Fang down the ground type. Oh my gosh. Oh, actually elects to throw to guarantee that you don't have to take the Earthquake here. And now Primeape doesn't have access to close combat. And this could come back to bite Primeape. No access to close combat. Rage Fist not going to be enough. Needs to get to another one at least. And doesn't get there. Doesn't get there. Steelix taking down the Primeape. Going to be a bracket reset here. And now this is for all the marbles. One more best of three. Winner take all. Metrenjar versus Walker. Here we go. Shiny Talon against Shiny Sableye. Incinerate's really adding up. I mean, the Shadow Claws are adding up. Oh, they go for the Power Gem. That is a very helpful shield because that is a little bit more energy cost. And now the Sableye's only going to get to one more attack. So if you want to, you can actually shield this and farm all the way down, but not going to do that. Instead, understands you survived the foul play and just going to go for this fly and gets the shield advantage. Maybe you Thunder Fang down with Steelix here because you can't really Mud Shot down. Oh, I take it back. What do I know? Feels like the energy is more valuable on Quagsire, so going to Mud Shot down. Now all shields have been used. In comes Corviknight, okay. I mean, triple Aqua Tail might just straight up be enough to knock out, and you could actually pivot Steelix if you want at some point. Met by Clot, obviously not ideal, but you have the Earthquake. Now, Earthquake's not going to threaten to one-shot Clod, but I have to imagine it does some incredible damage. And Clod still can't really get away with a Sludge Bomb here. I feel like Clod has to go for another Earthquake. Oh, man, that is massive. That could open up a position where this Clodsire is about to get Mud Shot down before it reaches another Earthquake. And if you come out with two Aqua Tails, you might just have this game. Okay, gonna actually fire off the Aqua Tail here. Needs to get to two against this Corviknight. Is a Sky Attack gonna be enough? Or is Quagsire still gonna get off both Aqua Tails? Oh my gosh! It's gonna live this Sand Attack. And as long as the next Sand Attack doesn't KO, first should have it. But wait! I actually don't know if two Aqua Tails is enough here. Can Corviknight hang on? No, it doesn't. Oh my gosh. What a game. What a game. 1-0 in potentially the decisive battle for the APAC playoff. Metrenjar leads Talonflame into Corviknight. Here we go. Furret safe swap. Gonna stay in to do two Incinerates and then go Steelix to take this energy a little bit better. Trailblaze is neutral, but it is a non-stab move. It's not the hardest hitting. What it is going to do, however, is bolster these Sucker Punches. So this is not the most comfortable for Steelix. Let's see what happens here. Are we going to invest a Protect Shield or just let this go? Gonna invest a Protect Shield. Wants to keep the alignment. Knows that having... Oh, and gets the farm down. Very nice. But Corviknight can... absorb this damage. Actually going to go for a Parting Earthquake here. Goes for a Parting Earthquake to do more damage. You are down a Protect Shield. Corviknight has some energy, but you have the alignment you want. Also, once Furt's out of the picture... Oh, okay. In comes Primeape. This is looking really awkward here. Primeape going for a Rage Fist. You can afford to take this and maybe get off your next Fly to get that final Protect Shield. Here we go. Fly coming through. Now, do you switch here or do you just stay in and force them to throw energy at Talon? Gonna stay in. I love this play. That one Incinerate you register is so helpful. Gonna actually shield because you have a Fly loaded? Oh! Committed to Brave Bird. Maybe a slight miscalculation? But Quagsire, I think the play here is to simply double up. But going for the Aqua Tail immediately, it might result in the same thing. Comes out with the Aqua Tail. Oh, I'm tripping. Wait, the Primeape was gone. What am I talking about? The Primeape was gone. I didn't even realize in the decisive game. And Metrenjar is actually going to become your APAC playoff champion. In this endgame scenario here, I thought the Primeape switched out. I thought it lived this Incinerate with 1 HP, and it switched out into Corviknight. That's why my commentary there at the end was a little bit tripped up. But, yeah, I thought it swapped and, like, maybe lived with 1 HP. But, no, that Incinerate that went through actually knocked out the Primeape. And, wow. What a finish. Congratulations to Metrenjar on qualifying for the World Championships and becoming your APAC playoff champion. Congrats to Walker as well for qualifying in the APAC playoffs for the World Championships in Anaheim, California. Obviously, you know, it's a very difficult thing to do. I've been able to do it a few times myself here in North America, but we have a different system, and I think it's even more impressive for some of these players that have less opportunities to compete, and they're still able to do it over in the Asia Pacific region. So congrats to you two. Congrats to Metrenjar on becoming the champion, and thank you so much for sending me your battles and feeling like you wanted me to showcase them. I appreciate that. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this Play Pokemon tournament recap, feel free to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. If you're new around here, comment down below. All comments are appreciated. And all that said, thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.